Alright, today I want to talk to everyone about the US striking Iran's nuclear facilities, Iran launching its most powerful missile attacks against Israel, and also how the prophecy of international relations master John Mearsheimer has come true. Trump really listens to the Israeli lobby, and by attacking Iran like this, he's basically letting China off the hook. After hesitating for a few weeks, Trump even went ahead and attacked Iran's 3 nuclear facilities on the night of June 21st. Once again, Trump announced national policy on his self-created social media platform, Truth Social. He posted that the US had completed a very successful attack on Iran's 3 major facilities, that all attacking aircraft had now safely withdrawn from Iranian airspace, and that all high-yield bombs had hit their main targets. All bombers that struck the Fordow nuclear facility were safe and on their way home. He congratulated the great American warriors for their achievement. No other military in the world could have pulled this off. Now, the time for peace has arrived. Thank you for your attention. Meanwhile, Fox News reported that during the attack on Iran's Fordow nuclear facility, the US B-2 bombers dropped 6 massive bunker-buster bombs. The White House's social media released a set of photos, with a caption stating that on June 21st, President Trump was in the White House Situation Room. The photos show Trump and others in the Situation Room watching a live broadcast of the bombing of Iran's nuclear facility. From the photos, Trump doesn't look excited, he appears quite tense. There are probably 3 reasons for his reaction. First, Trump was very worried the B-2 bombers might get shot down. That's why, in his post, he mentioned all attack aircraft safely withdrew from Iranian airspace, and he even said it twice. This suggests the bombers had entered Iranian airspace at a relatively close range for the strike, and finally withdrew safely. It's likely Trump was really scared. Earlier, a Pakistani J-10C fighter shot down an Indian Rafale. Trump worried similar might happen to American B-2 bombers. The B-2S withdrew safely, and he breathed a sigh of relief. When he posted, he mentioned twice the bombers withdrew safely. This was likely Trump's biggest concern. This shows Trump lacks confidence in his country's military. If not for striking a weak air defense country like Iran, he wouldn't dare act. Secondly, Trump worries about attacking targets like nuclear facilities buried 90 meters deep. The US's GBU-57 bunker-buster bomb only penetrates 60 meters, so they must drop at least 2 bombs, one after another, hitting the same spot to reach 90 meters. Reportedly, they dropped 6 bombs this time. This is their strike method, everyone. Whether this method is actually effective is still unknown. Besides, nuclear facilities can also be relocated. A person in charge at Iran's national television said during a live broadcast online that Iran had already moved the materials from 3 of its facilities some time ago, so the US attack did not cause any major losses to Iran. Third, Trump is also very afraid of getting dragged into a Middle East war, and his expression has already given him away. After the airstrike, a US official said that if the US joins Israel in a war against Iran, Iran is prepared to strike US military bases and equipment in the Middle East. In addition, according to a report by CNN on the same day, Iranian officials also confirmed that Iran does have plans to attack the US. The US quickly made a statement, saying they don't want to change Iran's regime, trying to de-escalate the airstrike situation. However, part of Iran's Supreme Leader Khamenei's camp called for missile attacks on US naval vessels and for blocking key oil transport routes. The escalation of the Strait of Hormuz incident now seems inevitable, and Iran's retaliation came immediately. On the morning of June 22nd, Iran announced a new round of missile attacks against Israel, and for the first time, Iran reportedly used the K-bar missile. The missile in question is most likely the Khorramshahr 4 long-range ballistic missile, which was previously unveiled. According to Iranian media reports, the Khorramshahr 4 missile is considered Iran's most powerful missile under pressure. In May 2023, Iran announced the development of the Khorramshahr 4 long-range ballistic missile, which has a range of up to 2,000 kilometers and is equipped with a warhead weighing up to 1,500 kilograms. Because a large number of missiles were launched toward Israel, Israel's interceptor missiles were limited and could only intercept about 60 of them. Missiles caused significant destruction in Tel Aviv and Rafah. Israel now experiences the same suffering as Gaza residents, who daily flee missile strikes, and things are expected to worsen. While Iran responded with its most powerful missile, it also strongly condemned the U.S. for its brutal military aggression. On the 22nd, the Iranian Ministry of Foreign Affairs released a statement denouncing the U.S. for its savage military aggression against Iran's nuclear facilities, used for peaceful purposes, and declared this act of aggression. This act was blatant and unprecedented, violating fundamental principles of United Nations Charter and international law. Iran reserves the right to fully resist American military aggression and crimes committed by its puppet regime, to safeguard Iran's security and national interests. The current sharp deterioration of the Middle East situation is entirely due to Trump's decision to launch airstrikes on Iran's nuclear facilities. The well-known international relations scholar Mearsheimer, in an interview last week, stated that Trump should not have ordered airstrikes on Iran's facilities. He said that the United States should not directly intervene in the Iran-Israel dispute, because it would neither be able to stop Iran from developing nuclear weapons, nor would it keep the focus on China. However, Israel's lobbying has made American influence too strong, and unfortunately, his prediction came true. So why did Trump decide to send troops and bomb Iran's nuclear facilities? Mearsheimer has written many articles about the Israeli lobby, and his basic view is that Israel has an extraordinary level of influence over successive U.S. administrations, usually able to do whatever it wants. When asked whether the current Trump administration has shown a new approach in foreign policy, and whether the more restrained voices within the America First camp, who oppose involvement in the Middle East, are starting to gain the upper hand, Mearsheimer flatly denied it. He said that's not the case. In his view, Trump has basically satisfied all the demands of the Israeli lobby group. There is no solid evidence to show that Trump ever truly resisted the influence of the Israeli lobby. Whether it was the Gaza massacre or the changes in the Iran situation, both prove this point. He said that if you look back at the previous incident involving Israeli missiles and Iran, various reports in the mainstream media clearly revealed that the Trump administration and Israel were as close as ever, using tricks to make Iran lower its guard and fall into the danger of being ambushed. He said that a large number of bombs and various military equipment had already been provided to Israel, used to wage war against Iran, and even to carry out acts of genocide. The facts show that Trump is actually confronting specific interest groups within Israel. So he doesn't have expectations for Trump. Trump's Make America Great Again fanbase opposes U.S. involvement in overseas wars, but Trump still decided to open fire on Iran. This proves Weisskopf's statement that Trump fulfills all demands of the Israeli lobby is true. This explanation makes everything clear. So, did the U.S. targeting Iran's nuclear facilities have any effect? Michael McFaul analyzed that Israel's real intention was to completely destroy Iran's uranium enrichment capability, to ensure Iran can't build nuclear bombs. He also mentioned the 2015 agreement between the Obama administration, Iran, and several other countries. The intention of the deal wasn't to eliminate Iran's uranium enrichment capability, but rather to prevent Iran from upgrading enriched uranium to weapons-grade levels. Israel was extremely dissatisfied with the Iran nuclear deal. They pressured the Trump administration to withdraw from the agreement, simply because the deal allowed Iran to retain its enrichment capability. So even if, under the framework of the Iran nuclear deal, Iran can't enrich uranium up to the 95% weapons-grade level, Israel still believes that Iran having any uranium enrichment capability at all is simply unacceptable. But Mills Kevin said he completely understands why Israel can't accept this. However, he also said, you have to ask yourself, what else can you actually do? Can Israel completely and permanently eliminate Iran's uranium enrichment capability? The answer is that Israel will never be able to do that. He said that even if the U.S. bombed Iran's nuclear facilities, it still wouldn't achieve that goal. That's why the Obama administration advocated that the best solution was to use this agreement to significantly limit Iran's ability to enrich uranium to weapons-grade levels. He believes that since the U.S. simply can't convince Iran to give up its enrichment capability, the least bad option is to return to the situation under the Iran nuclear deal. On the contrary, if the US naively thinks it can completely destroy Iran's nuclear capability through military strikes, that's just too unrealistic. In fact, it's simply not possible. Iran could quickly resume producing enriched uranium. Mayor Dagan even said that he always believed that if he were Iran's national security advisor, Iran should have had nuclear weapons long ago. From Iran's perspective, not developing nuclear weapons is extremely foolish. They should have had them already. Just look at Kim Jong-un's North Korea. The US would never attack North Korea. South Korea won't attack North Korea because North Korea has nuclear weapons. If Iran had nuclear weapons, or if you had nuclear weapons, the US and Israel wouldn't attack you. He believes that the lesson this conflict has taught us so far is that Iran is now more motivated than ever to acquire nuclear weapons. He hopes that day will never come, but it's fair to say that if the US goes to war with Iran, it could very well push Iran to get nuclear weapons as quickly as possible. He said, "Just look at Israel and the Americans. Israel has nuclear weapons. Have you ever seen anyone attack them? Would they ever want to give up their nuclear weapons? Of course not. Israel knows very well that nuclear weapons are the ultimate deterrent. Have you ever seen the US, the world's strongest conventional military, give up its nuclear weapons? This is the ultimate threat, and they won't give it up. If Iran had nuclear weapons, he believes this war wouldn't be happening. So if the US tries to stop Iran from developing nuclear weapons, America's situation could get even worse." Why is Mearsheimer so opposed to the US attacking Iran's nuclear facilities? Besides, he thinks not only is the show of force useless, but even more so, he believes this would let China off the hook. He asks, do you really have enough strength to maintain a three-front operation in Iran, Ukraine, and China? Mearsheimer has long believed that the primary threat you face comes from China, and that the US should focus its efforts on containing China. The US is already so constrained in the Persian Gulf that it can barely move. If a war breaks out in the Persian Gulf and drags the US into it, the US will inevitably have to redeploy even more military resources from East Asia to the Middle East. This kind of situation clearly aligns with America's long-term interests. After listening to his analysis, it can be summarized like this. First, after much deliberation, Trump still ended up yielding to the Israeli lobby, betraying his own supporters and going to war with Iran. Second, even if Iran's 3 nuclear facilities are struck, it won't be enough to stop Iran from continuing uranium enrichment. It's just a show of force to appease Israel's demands. Third, if Iran retaliates with full force and launches powerful missiles to bomb Israel, the Middle East will become even more turbulent, and the United States.
Iran strikes back with full force, Middle East becomes more turbulent, US gets bogged down, less able to confront China,